What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and everything MCU. And today we have a really interesting interview with Tom Holland. Now, the interview is about his upcoming movie Uncharted, but of course, he is asked about Spider-Man No Way Home, where he answers a very important question. He actually clarifies something that he said a little while back that a lot of people have misunderstood, and he says in the interview that everybody seems to be misconstruing what he said. It is when he said in an interview a long time ago that if he's still playing Spider-Man when he's 30, he is doing something wrong. He offers clarity for that in this interview. He then goes on to talk about continuing to play Spider-Man and passing the mantle on to possibly somebody like Miles Morales or Spider-Woman. And he even briefly mentions that Marvel and Sony got a lot of good things going on as far as ideas are concerned. So let's watch this interview, and then I also have some things that he said in another interview about a really awesome scene with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire that I'll break down as well. He talks about how he loved that Andrew got redemption in this movie and about how he thanked the other two Spider-Men in a very, very touching moment on the set. So you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video to hear it all. So if you're new and you love Spider-Man and the MCU, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Let's go watch this interview.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, like, this is also a role, I mean, you said, like, if I hit 30 and I'm doing Spider-Man, something's wrong. This is a role that you can really grow into. Like, do you see yourself, okay, I could do the Nathan Drake until I'm 50?
That quote, I think, has been slightly misconstrued. What I basically was trying to say is that if I am 30 still playing Spider-Man and I haven't passed on the baton to a Miles Morales or a Spider-Woman or something more diverse, then I will have done something wrong in the sense of the sort of duties I have to the character. Not that, like, if I'm playing Spider-Man in my 30s, I'm like some washed-up has-been. That's not what I was saying at all.
Only making billion-dollar movies every year now.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I could see myself playing this character into my 30s. I'm very confident in the films and the project's capabilities to succeed, and I think we have a really special bit of material on our hands.
So, first things first, Tom Holland clarifies what he meant when he said this quote a long time ago, which is great. He doesn't mean that if he's 30 and still playing the same character, he's doing something wrong, at least not as an actor, but as somebody who actually cares about the character and about the franchise. What he meant was that if he's still playing that character and other people like Miles Morales and Spider-Woman haven't come in, then he's doing a disservice to himself because he is a fan, but us as well as the other fans. But notice the last thing that he said. He said, I can see myself playing this character into my 30s, and I'm very confident in the film's and project's ability to succeed. And then he said he thinks they have a really special bit of material on their hands. This is great news because he's talking about the future of Spider-Man. They just went through an extremely special bit of material, the 3 Spider-Men on screen, live action for the very first time, and now he's saying they still have special material left, while at the same time talking about how he thinks that eventually the baton should be passed down to a Miles Morales or a Spider-Woman. Now, coincidentally, Olivia Wilde is set to direct a Marvel Spider-Man film. It is currently untitled, however, many people believe, and rumor has it, that it is going to be a Spider-Woman film following Jessica Drew. And of course, as I've mentioned several times and as most fans know, Miles Morales technically does exist inside of the MCU because in Spider-Man Homecoming, we met his uncle, Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler, played by the childish Gambino, Donald Glover, who specifically mentions that he has a nephew, who of course is Miles. Also, not to mention, they dropped the Miles Morales Easter egg in Spider-Man No Way Home where Jamie Foxx's Electro says, I thought you were going to be black. There's gotta be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. So perhaps this is the way that Marvel Studios plans to move. Perhaps Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to be sticking around for another 1, 2, or 3 films, hopefully another trilogy, but it looks like he is eventually going to be passing that baton off, as he says, to a different Spider-Man or Spider-Woman, which I'm really excited to see. Now, many of you really loved Spider-Man No Way Home, and in a different interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Tom Holland opened up about 2 things that I really want to talk about. One, he talked about how the other 2 Spider-Men and the other 2 actors really helped him, and he talked about a particular scene where he thanks them in the film. And then he talks about Andrew Garfield's redemption arc in Spider-Man No Way Home, which I'll actually talk about first because I really love this, because I really loved Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in No Way Home, and I love the fact that he finally got his time and he finally did get that redemption. In the interview, he was asked, "One of the most heartwarming aspects of No Way Home is the fact that Andrew is finally getting his due as Peter. Has the response to Andrew's performance been a source of pride for you?" In which Tom Holland replied, "Without question. I could not be happier for him. Something I can look back on now with a little bit of clarity and regret is that I never called him when I took over as Spider-Man. Had someone said to me after my second movie that I was done and this other kid was taking over, I would have been heartbroken. So, looking back, I wish I had the chance to make amends with him, but this film was our opportunity. It was not only an opportunity for him to make peace with the character and the studio, but it was also an opportunity for me and him to have this moment where we realized we could share this thing. The look on his face when he saves Zendaya, MJ, is totally genuine, and I'm really proud of him. I'm really chuffed that he got this opportunity to win back the world and for people to be reminded that his Spider-Man movies are fantastic and brilliant in their own right." Now this I absolutely love because, again, I loved Andrew Garfield in this movie. And for Tom to say that Andrew's face and his expression when he caught MJ was genuine means that he was legitimately crying and choked up over the fact that he actually did get to save MJ. He couldn't save Gwen, but he could save MJ. And I think in a way he was kind of saving a part of himself as well. Like in the scene where Tobey is telling him that he's amazing, that's pretty meta. It has two different meanings. Not only is he talking to Spider-Man as Spider-Man, making the little pun that he's amazing, hence the amazing Spider-Man, but he's also just Tobey Maguire talking to Andrew Garfield saying, "Hey dude, your Spider-Man was amazing. Your Peter Parker was amazing. You're amazing. Don't tell yourself that your movies were bad. You are an amazing actor. You were an amazing Spider-Man." And that's coming from the original Spider-Man, so I'm sure that meant a lot to Andrew Garfield. Now, the second thing I want to talk about from this interview is really, really cool. It's where Peter 1 is thanking Peter 2 and Peter 3. Tom Holland is asked in the interview, "I love the moment where Peter says, 'Thank you, thank you, thank you' to Peter 2, Tobey Maguire, and Peter 3, Andrew Garfield. He's obviously saying thank you to those characters for their help and their wisdom, but I also read it as you, Tom, saying thank you to Tobey and Andrew for setting an example and paving the way for your era as Spider-Man. Was that in the back of your mind at all while you filmed that goodbye?" And this is what Tom Holland said. "Yeah, that moment was actually inspired by something that actually happened. We were on set shooting the rooftop scene where I met the boys for the first time, and before one of the takes, it must have been my close-up or something. It was one that really required me to bring the emotion to the shot. So I went up to the two boys on the level that they were standing, and I said to them, 'Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for elevating Spider-Man in the ways that you have. Thank you for being so gracious and allowing me to share this with you. Thank you for taking a leap of faith and coming back.' Tobey hadn't acted in nearly 10 years, so we all embraced each other, and we were all crying because it meant so much to us. And John Watts, Amy Pascal, and the writers saw this moment between the three of us and were like, 'Brilliant.' Well, now we know how they're going to say goodbye to each other. So essentially, we just reshot that very real moment between the three of us. And I can't tell you how much I absolutely love this, and I would just so love to see some behind the scenes shots of the three Spider-Men just hanging out together and possibly crying together like we just heard about. That's kind of all I want right now, but let me know what you think about what Tom Holland said about the future of Spider-Man and this touching moment between the three Spider-Man actors. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all other MCU news. And for live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.